Subliminal Messages War. In an intriguing scene from the Turkish drama series, Valley of the Wolves, the protagonist appeared while in the background, the Muslims' call to prayer resounded in reverse. Thousands of viewers watched this scene, but it did not pass in the same manner for researchers, the awakened, conspiracy theorists, or call them what you will. These individuals paused before this peculiar scene, pondering whether this act was religiously permissible or forbidden, and what its purpose might be. Could this scene be considered one of the subliminal messages, those concealed messages directed by the media toward the subconscious mind to control and manipulate it, guiding it to embrace a particular vision or idea without awareness? Before delving into this matter to arrive at a compelling answer, we must first be acquainted with certain aspects. First and foremost, what are subliminal messages? What is their purpose? Why are they directed toward the subconscious mind? And what exactly is the subconscious mind? Let us begin by agreeing that the mind differs from the brain. The brain is the material component, the mass of cells governing functions, whereas the mind is an immaterial component that relies on material elements in a complex sequential process, much like how an operating system depends on the hardware components of a computer. Scientists have divided the human mind into 4 levels: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, and the cosmic consciousness or morphogenetic field. It is worth noting that there is disagreement on this matter, as some scientists have merged the subconscious and unconscious minds into a single classification, while others regard the cosmic consciousness or morphogenetic field as a philosophical theory lacking scientific evidence. Let us elucidate this matter as concisely as possible to reach our objective swiftly. The first level of the mind is the conscious mind, employed in performing arithmetic and logical operations, making judgments, interpreting, and decision-making. It relies on inference and deduction, serving as the repository of knowledge and cognitive faculties, encompassing awareness, knowledge, thinking, language, memory, and other mental activities that can be nurtured, measured, and analyzed. The conscious mind possesses the faculties of imagination, discrimination, estimation, and the processing of emotions, sensations, and reactions, among other observable processes. These operations can be monitored, analyzed, and at times, quantified, even though we may not fully comprehend their nature. In summary, we utilize the conscious mind during wakefulness to engage in various mental tasks, such as problem-solving, judgment, or decision-making. Its capabilities are contingent upon the knowledge acquired by the individual throughout their lifetime. Despite the multitude of theories surrounding the mind, they can be distilled into 2 primary perspectives. The first theory, rooted in religious thought, emphasizes the relationship between the mind and the soul, considering it the presumed divine essence of human existence. The second, scientific theory, regards the mind as a phenomenon within the realm of psychology, synonymous with consciousness. There is also contention regarding the structure of the mind and the factors contributing to its formation. Some posit that higher functions like memory and cognition constitute the fundamental components of the mind, while emotions are primal, innate components unrelated to the mind. In contrast, Others perceive the mental, emotional, and rational aspects as an indivisible unity. Hence, the mind can be regarded as either a divine essence or a material component. In the 18th century, the Irish philosopher George Berkeley introduced the theory of immaterialism, also known as subjective idealism. In this theory, he denied the material existence of things and considered these familiar objects to us, such as buildings, cups, tables, and chairs, as mere ideas in the mind of God, with no existence beyond perception. It seems that the creators of the film Matrix were well acquainted with this man. However, scientists rejected and criticized this extreme theory. In the 19th century, Thomas Henry Huxley presented a modern perspective based on the views of the English mathematician and philosopher Thomas Hobbes. Huxley argued that mental processes are the result of physical processes, establishing a connection between the brain and the mind. In simpler terms, mental activity and its capacities are dependent on brain cells. In the early 20th century, the renowned Austrian physician Sigmund Freud introduced the theory of the unconscious mind. He proposed the idea that conscious mental processes are only a small part of actual mental processes, and that the human mind possesses a distinct unconscious mind that cannot be known or controlled except through psychoanalysis and understanding dreams. Freud synthesized the fundamentalist doctrine of the mind with scientific thought. Despite opposition from scientists who considered his theory untestable and lacking empirical evidence, it gained widespread popularity, especially in the 20th and 21st centuries, with the emergence of simple artificial minds, and later complex artificial intelligence. This fusion carried out by Freud in his theory found broad acceptance based on the assumption that if mental activity were purely a physical process, humans would be capable of creating machines with minds similar to their own. However, this has not yet been achieved. Despite the progress made in artificial intelligence, it has not reached a state of self-awareness, and many scientists believe it never will. This is because mental activity is not solely the result of a set of cells, chemical interactions, and electrical signals, but something more intricate and profound. Therefore, the conscious mind is the one we employ during wakefulness to perform various mental tasks, and its capabilities are limited, particularly in terms of memory. Memory is a complex process that involves storing and retrieving information, relying on attention. Matters that do not capture our attention cannot be stored and recalled, which is why we cannot remember all the events and information that pass through us, even in a single day. Typically, we remember only two types of events: those we consciously choose to remember, and those associated with emotion. Emotionally charged events, whether they evoke sadness, joy, disgust, love, or hatred, tend to be retained in memory. This is why, according to psychologists, women often have superior memory for details, because emotion has a stronger influence on them. Teachers often advise students on the importance of connecting challenging information with emotion, as emotion helps cement the information in memory. The conscious mind's attention and storage capacities are limited, and its storage capabilities are exceedingly feeble. So only important knowledge or relatively significant events are stored in memory. However, what about the countless small events and incidental information we encounter, often without notice or disregard? Do these vanish into thin air? Or are they stored in the subconscious or unconscious mind? Does this mind truly exist, or is it just a hypothesis? When you ascend the stairs of your home, workplace, or any building you are accustomed to, you may initially inspect the steps before taking your first strides. During this moment, your conscious mind calculates the height and approximate number of steps. These details are stored for retrieval in subsequent ascents and descents. As you repeat the action, you discover that you can ascend or descend without looking at the steps, without conscious thought, and perhaps even swiftly, even in the darkness. This is analogous to learning to ride a bicycle, drive a car, or with repeated habits. The routines we regularly engage in become ingrained within the subconscious mind, and we perform them without conscious contemplation. This process is a prime piece of evidence for the existence of the subconscious mind. When a task is repeated, the conscious mind transfers its information regarding the task to another mind to take advantage of its unlimited storage space. This other mind is the subconscious or unconscious mind, located at a deeper level than the conscious mind. It possesses superior capabilities in terms of storage, decision-making, and processing compared to the conscious mind, because it does not rely solely on available information, but also processes this information and conducts all mental operations like perception, memory, learning, and thinking at an astonishing speed that we might not imagine. Some scientists have argued that the unconscious mind plays a significant role in cognitive activity, and possesses capabilities far surpassing those of the conscious mind. This is due to its ability to gather data more rapidly, analyze it quickly, and use it to influence decision-making processes. It is the true, latent, and driving power behind the conscious mind, propelling it from the shadows, all the while escaping our notice. While the conscious mind's attention and storage abilities are limited, the subconscious mind has limitless attention and storage capabilities, allowing it to notice and store all details of the surrounding environment without the conscious mind's interference in this process. Despite the scholarly discord regarding the nature of the subconscious mind and its mechanisms, they have managed to construct and posit hypotheses for testing. Consider the hypothesis known as the illusion-truth effect, which suggests that an individual is more susceptible to the veracity of information when it is presented to them during a discussion, especially if that information has previously crossed their path, albeit fleetingly, without their conscious notice or focus. This hypothesis, conceived and examined by psychologists in 1977, serves as the cornerstone upon which the Subliminal Messages war, or the veiled communique conflict, was waged. However, before we tread upon the battlefield of this war, let us continue our discourse on the third mind, the most profound echelon of the subconscious mind. We have established that the conscious mind serves as the locus of perception, whereas the subconscious mind acts as the repository of memories and desires. The thoughts, events, and information that have traversed the conscious mind are not expunged but rather enshrined within the depths of the subconscious mind, thereby influencing beliefs, emotions, judgments, and decision-making, oftentimes unbeknownst to us. Sigmund Freud elucidated this concept. Nonetheless, Swiss psychologist Carl Gustav Jung ventured further by dividing the subconscious mind, or the unconscious mind, into two segments: the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. The personal unconscious encapsulates the memories and experiences of an individual, whereas the collective unconscious encompasses the collective memories and experiences of the entire human race, passed down from generation to generation, and even shared among individuals of the same generation in real time. Drawing upon the premise of the collective unconscious, British scientist Alfred Rupert Sheldrake devised one of the most pivotal and eccentric contemporary theories, the morphogenic field, or the cosmic mind. In this theory, Sheldrake posited that the human brain is a mere conduit, in constant communication with a vast mind that stores all human knowledge, experiences, and expertise in real time. It is akin to an intricate network of personal computers linked to a colossal central server. This analogy can be likened to a television receiving electromagnetic signals, capable of displaying images, but not the broadcasting station. Sheldrake conducted various experiments to substantiate his theory, including presenting riddle to viewers on the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, and subsequently solving it. Simultaneously, a team affiliated with him presented another set of riddle to people on the streets of the city, and they too managed to solve it. The crucial distinction lies in that the solution to the first set of riddle became widely known to millions of viewers, whereas only a few individuals knew the solution to the second set. Following that, the team traveled to remote regions of the world where the BBC network did not reach, and presented the two riddles to the locals. The outcome revealed that people were able to solve the first riddle more easily than the second. Sheldrake concluded from these experiments that the more individuals collectively engage with a particular idea or knowledge, the greater the collective consciousness surrounding it, and consequently, its influence intensifies. This idea may appear to be an eccentric idea, does it not? It has indeed encountered vehement opposition from the scientific community, with some categorizing Sheldrake's research as a form of pseudoscience. Nevertheless, his theory finds support in several pieces of evidence, including the ability of young children to adeptly handle modern devices. For instance, if you were to present your grandfather with a smartphone, he would likely struggle to grasp its operation, whereas your young child, not yet 3 or 4 years old, could easily navigate your device. They open YouTube, voice search for content, browse through material, and even skip advertisements, all without explicit instruction. They accomplish this effortlessly, seemingly by instinct. Another example posits that we rarely envision smartphones in our dreams. However, the newer generations born in the era of these devices frequently dream about them, considering them a natural part of their daily lives, and a familiar notion within the cosmic mind, in contrast to preceding generations. These are no more than mere pieces of evidence that naturally fall short of reaching the level of proof. Hence, the nature of the subconscious mind remains shrouded in mystery, and the extent of its power is profound. Nevertheless, it is certain that this power wields a dual-edged sword. There exist numerous research studies, books, and training regimens encouraging individuals to direct information and knowledge to the subconscious mind, considering it more potent and capable than the conscious mind. These strategies encompass the training of the subconscious mind in steering behavior and mastering the art of sound decision-making. On the other hand, if one's subconscious mind remains unaware of its own power, it becomes susceptible to manipulation through a plethora of tactics and stratagems, including but not limited to framing and subliminal stimuli. Media framing, in essence, involves directing attention to a specific segment of an image while obscuring other details with the purpose of engaging the subconscious mind and exerting influence upon it. It is no secret that the formidable machinery of the media can mold the subconscious mind to sympathize with criminals and exonerate the innocent. This formidable machinery has turned the annihilation of Native Americans into a perceived act of civilization, the American aggression in Vietnam into a humanitarian mission, Iraqis into rebels, Palestinians into terrorists, and Muslims into murderers and butchers. Conversely, it has depicted Jews as saviors of the world, or as victims of Nazi rule. In this manner, the deceitful machinery of media paints a mental image that firmly implants itself in the subconscious mind, even within its own victims. It steers this controlling subconscious to embrace specific ideas, and treat conjectures and myths as constants. This image is then reiterated repeatedly until the eyes are blinded to the truth, even if it shines as clearly as the sun. This framing does not operate in isolation, it thrives on the ignorance of the recipient. A populace steeped in ignorance becomes an easy target for the invasion of its thoughts and the corruption of its youth. This is achieved by promoting sexual deviance as a human norm, disseminating a culture of liberation, debauchery, and immodesty as personal freedom, and sowing doubt in religions and the existence of God as a trendy proclamation. On this path, we reach a stage where some hoist the banner of, "I believe in science," as if science has become a deity worshipped instead of God, or as if genuine knowledge cannot affirm the existence of God. Others fall victim to logical fallacies, contending that Muslims are backward because they believe in God, while the West is advanced because they do not. Hence, we conclude that religion is the cause of backwardness. These misleading messages are repeatedly conveyed by the parrots of misleading media to the oblivious minds, solidifying them within the subconscious, while the truth stands in stark contrast. In the days when Arabs and Muslims adhered to their faith, they were the leaders of the world. They fell behind the caravan of civilization only after they neglected the core of religion, becoming engrossed in its superficial aspects. These are mere illustrative examples of framing that has succeeded in deceiving minds. As for subconscious stimuli, they are images or sounds presented either in an encrypted form or in the background of a specific scene for an exceedingly brief period, sometimes not exceeding a fraction of a hundredth of a second in certain messages. So neither the eye nor the ear can perceive it, and the conscious mind is incapable of attending to it. In both scenarios, it proves arduous for the conscious mind to discern or perceive them, while they firmly anchor themselves in the subconscious, metamorphosing into stimuli commonly denoted as covert or disguised messages. They are a type of messages delivered either visually or audibly, the purpose of which is challenging to perceive, yet they enter the subconscious as internal commands with the intent of conveying a specific idea. They rely on the mechanism of repetition to maximize their effectiveness. It is noteworthy that most of these messages target children before adults, either to instill a sense of negativity, or to shape and direct their nascent minds. From an early age, these minds are constructed to view the illogical as logical, the strange as familiar, and the repulsive as acceptable. Despite the absence of scientific research confirming the reality of these messages, with some attributing them to conspiracy theories, their observable presence raises suspicion and doubt. Countless examples of these messages exist in movies, dramas, songs, advertisements, social media, and everything that reaches the faculties of human hearing or sight. The short animated film I, Pet Goat 2, is one of the most prominent examples of encrypted messages in media. Many researchers have examined and scrutinized the vast and intense collection of hidden symbols it presents. Starting from the film's title itself, bearing the label, Part 2, despite there being no announced first part, it appears as though the story is presenting a second part that complements an undisclosed narrative in human life. Around 7 minutes of this film seem like prophecies of the future. If you were to research these interpretations, you would be astonished by their logicality. However, let's pause at 2 points that haven't received as much attention in explanations despite our extensive research. This film was released in 2012, and it concludes with a scene of a collapsing church. This church greatly resembles the historic Notre-Dame Cathedral, which indeed burned down and collapsed in April 2019, 7 years after the film's release. What is truly astonishing is not just the film's prediction of this event, but also that the cathedral collapsed in the exact same manner as depicted in the movie. Then, another scene portrays a man dressed as a Sufi rising and ascending from the rubble of a mosque dome that had been bombed by planes. It appears to be a signal of the rise of Islam in the end times after attempts to destroy it. So, do they possess knowledge of the future unseen? Please, do not be so naive to this extent. These are not mere predictions. They are designs and visions built upon a deep understanding of religions, especially Islam, and its prophecies regarding the events of the end times. The purpose of presenting them is not to expose these schemes to the public, but to instill a sense of despair and hopelessness by portraying themselves as beings of unmatched power, as if they possess divine knowledge. Who would dare to confront gods? Another example of these encrypted messages is the advertisement that aired on Egyptian television during Ramadan in 2013 for Pepsi. It was a seemingly ordinary advertisement, but some researchers have pointed out that it is filled with hidden messages. For instance, they argue that the scene where the young man walks through the lantern-lit corridor is a reference to a cemetery. It is no secret to anyone what violent events unfolded in Egypt shortly after, leading to the deaths of hundreds of young people. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Some might consider it mere coincidences, superstitions, or conspiracy theory obsession. However, these are signs that should ring alarm bells in the mind, especially when we pay attention to the accompanying music in such sequences, its frequencies, and its psychological effects. As for examples of concealed auditory and visual messages, they are almost boundless in number. They encompass words crafted in a manner that escapes conscious awareness. Among the most notorious of these words is the word sex. In the first part of this book, we delved into this word, which the clouds inscribed above the sole true and complete image of planet Earth, as stated by NASA. This word also finds its place on the opening page of the renowned social platform, Facebook, in animated films, and within advertisements, whether in an overt form or through allusions conveyed by words, symbols, and imagery that serve the same purpose. Programming the subconscious mind to accept sexuality and sexual deviance, or the glorification of the devil and its symbols. This is in addition to the ambiguous utterances, which are words with specific frequencies that enter the ear and are interpreted by the subconscious mind differently from the conscious mind. Observe, what does this voice say?
Just raise it! Just raise it! Just raise it! Just raise it!
Listen to it again, and you will find that it utters a word or phrase that carries 8 different meanings. One spoken word, but heard with various interpretations. Have you taken notice of it? This is the concept of ambiguous utterances, akin to the notion of ambiguity or double meaning, where a sentence or word carries one or more meanings, one of which is overt in pronunciation, while the other remains hidden, summoned by the subconscious mind, and possibly imposed upon the conscious mind. This pernicious technique often relies on presentation within a comedic and humorous framework to weaken the conscious mind's resistance to it. Furthermore, it intentionally conceals a portion of the speech in a manner that encourages the mind to think and evoke the absent meaning, which the subconscious mind can readily surmise. The technique of ambiguity is not limited to auditory media alone, it extends to visual media as well. There is a recent trend of illustrations where an artist initially portrays a sexual scene, gradually transforming it into an ordinary scene, after achieving the intended goal and disseminating the sinister message to the subconscious mind, to program it to embrace a specific idea as ordinary, familiar, and non-offensive, thus becoming deeply embedded within the recesses of the subconscious. Lastly, but not least, there are reversed messages. These are sentences or words that appear to be normal when heard, but when reversed, a different meaning emerges. This method is often employed in songs due to their memorability and repeatability, frequently accompanied by music with specific frequencies, enhancing their impact on the subconscious mind, while the conscious mind remains completely unaware of these messages. Take notice of what this doll is saying.
Let's just let it go. Let me let you. And I can lie, say I like it like that, like it like that.
A commonplace sentence, yet when reversed, it becomes Of course, one does not require genius to understand the intended target for kill. In this manner, the concept of reversed messages emerged in the Turkish series, serving as a message that could be positive this time. It's as if the creators of this series have employed the same weapon as the enemy, and it may have either negative messages. No one precisely knows the meaning conveyed by the reversed call to prayer in this context, or its purpose. But it is worth noting that we should be aware of the existence of such messages, so as not to allow anyone to manipulate our subconscious minds and program them to act against us. As previously mentioned, examples of framing, subconscious stimuli, and hidden messages are countless and challenging to enumerate. There is limited scope to delve into them here, but you can explore them by searching for the term subliminal messages or backmasking messages, and you will find hundreds of them. It is a diabolically malignant cipher of the utmost degree, targeting the subconscious mind that governs the conscious mind. They reinforce and establish specific messages in the collective consciousness, aiming to promote sex, promiscuity, deviance, and atheism, all of which lead humans away from the righteous nature with which God created them. It amplifies evil and negative energy in the world, paving the way for their awaited Messiah, their false god, the Antichrist, whom they anticipate generation after generation, preparing the earth for him with all the power they can muster. They know that he will not emerge except in a time of chaos in religion and the loss of knowledge. They know that the Antichrist will not emerge until people forget to mention him, and the religious leaders abandon mentioning him from the pulpits. Do you still believe that all of this is mere coincidence, delusions, fantasies, or an unhealthy obsession with conspiracy theories? It's alright, for the allure of a dazzling image is formidable. In ancient times, purity was seen as a blemish by some, for they said, "Expel the family of Lot from your city." Indeed, they are people who keep themselves pure. It's alright if you don't believe, for the dose of the narcotic is much more potent than our ability to awaken a drugged sleeper who does not wish to awaken.